The night stretches wide above you, not as emptiness, but as a vast, breathing field of light. Stars shimmer quietly, patient and ancient, like the eyes of something that has seen every beginning. Between those points of fire there drifts another kind of presence, darker, smaller, yet equally alive in its stillness. Asteroids, whispering stones of the sky, they move without haste, circling the sun in long, slow loops, tracing invisible paths that have existed since before memory began. You imagine yourself floating among them. There is no sound here, only the hum of your own heartbeat mingling with the silence of deep space. Each rock, some the size of mountains, some no larger than pebbles, drifts as though in meditation. Their surfaces glint faintly when sunlight catches a ridge or a scar, revealing patterns of impact and age like wrinkles on an elder's face. You feel reverence, not fear, because in these quiet travelers you sense something deeply familiar: time, endurance, and the unspoken language of change. Long ago, before oceans, before breath, everything you know was once like them. Dust, stone, fragments adrift in a young solar wind. The earth itself was born from this slow ballet of collisions and embraces, from dust that refused to remain separate. You picture it, the early sun burning fiercely in a haze of creation, while clouds of particles swirl around it, drawn by gravity's patient pull. Within that turbulence, small clusters begin to form, sticking together through static charges and gentle impacts. Those that found perfect balance grew into worlds. Those that didn't became asteroids, suspended between becoming and being. They are, in a way, the unfinished thoughts of the universe, unwritten sentences from the story of creation. You drift closer to one, its surface rugged, marked by tiny craters and fractures. It's not smooth or symmetrical. It's humble, a piece of space that never pretended to be perfect. Yet its imperfection feels profound, because in that roughness lies the record of everything that has touched it: heat, time, collisions, the silent brush of cosmic dust. You reach out, not with your hand, but with awareness, and feel the weight of 4.5 billion years resting in its form. Scientists once called them minor planets, but that phrase feels too small. There is nothing minor about something that carries the memory of the universe's birth. Each asteroid is a messenger, holding the chemistry of the early solar system like a time capsule. Iron, nickel, silicate, carbon, these are not just elements, but the ingredients of possibility. The same materials that would one day form oceans, mountains, bodies, and thought itself. You begin to realize that these silent stones are the ancestors of life. Imagine one of them, perhaps a small, dark, carbon-rich body, wandering through the void until it brushes Earth's atmosphere. For a few seconds, it blazes across the sky as a streak of fire, and then, with a sigh, lands quietly on the soil. Inside it are amino acids, the building blocks of life. In that moment, something ancient meets something young. The cosmic and the terrestrial shake hands. And from that meeting, a planet begins to awaken. You inhale slowly, sensing how deeply connected you are to this story. The same carbon that forms the asteroid's heart is in you, in every cell that breathes and grows. When you exhale, tiny carbon atoms drift into the air, ready to become part of something else, somewhere else. Perhaps one day they will rise. escape the atmosphere, and return to the sky to orbit again among their kin. The cycle feels endless, yet harmonious. Life and stone are simply two verses of the same song. Asteroids are not static. They move in families, loose clusters, shaped by the remnants of ancient collisions. The main asteroid belt, floating between Mars and Jupiter, is a vast, quiet region where billions of fragments drift together in balanced solitude. Each follows its orbit faithfully, like monks walking a circle in prayer. There's beauty in their discipline, a cosmic order hidden inside apparent chaos. Sometimes one is nudged out of its rhythm, sent drifting toward a new path. This, too, feels familiar. Even in space, change is inevitable. You think about how human eyes first found them. In the early 1800s, astronomers scanning the night noticed faint points of light that refused to behave like stars. They shifted slightly, night after night, against the backdrop of constellations. One of them was named Ceres, the first asteroid ever identified, a goddess of harvest, watching over grains and growth. The name feels right, for even then humanity sensed that these objects were seeds, not of crops, but of understanding. Each discovery was a kind of nourishment, feeding our collective curiosity. Now, centuries later, telescopes and probes study these same bodies with quiet precision. We've touched them, sent robotic hands to land on their surfaces, to scoop samples of dust untouched since the dawn of the solar system. The Japanese spacecraft Hayabusa 2 returned grains of asteroid Ryugu, revealing carbon and organic molecules older than Earth's oceans. NASA's OSIRIS-REx did the same with Bennu, another ancient traveler. Each mission whispers the same revelation. What seems lifeless may hold the memory of life's beginning. You let this truth settle softly in your mind. Perhaps the universe has always been patient, waiting for consciousness to grow curious enough to look back at its roots. Perhaps we are not explorers of the stars, but their reflections. When you gaze into the night sky, you are not looking out, you are looking in toward the ingredients of your own being. The asteroids, though silent, are teachers. They speak of endurance, of simplicity, of slow transformation. They remind you that creation is not a sudden act, but an ongoing process, a rhythm that continues even now, in the stillness between breaths. Their orbits mirror your own cycles of thought and rest, curiosity and calm. Each time you learn something new, it's like completing another loop around your inner sun dot. And in this slow dance of stones, you feel peace, because nothing here is rushed. Nothing here strives to be more than it is. Every fragment is perfect in its imperfection, still in motion, still part of the greater whole. You sense the comfort of cosmic patience, the reassurance that all things find their place in time. The night deepens. Stars shimmer like gentle signals from across infinity. You imagine the asteroids still drifting, unchanged, their whispering presence surrounding Earth in wide, invisible rings. They are the watchers of evolution, guardians of memory. Perhaps they watch us, too, this young species that builds rockets and asks questions and sometimes forgets to be still. If they could speak, they might say, "Remember where you came from. Remember that silence is not emptiness, it is potential waiting to awaken." You let that thought echo softly in your chest. Your breath slows. You feel yourself orbiting in your own way around your thoughts, your memories, your hopes. The universe feels closer now, not vast and distant, but intimate, like a pulse beneath your skin. You are not separate from it. You are made of it, carved from the same ancient dust that still drifts between Mars and Jupiter. Every heartbeat is a small echo of gravity pulling you toward belonging. And somewhere in the darkness, a solitary asteroid continues its journey, circling endlessly through sunlight and shadow. It neither hurries nor hesitates. It simply moves, faithful to its invisible path. You imagine its slow rotation, its quiet dignity. You sense, deep inside, that it carries the same calm purpose you long for, a reminder that motion can be peaceful and progress can be patient. As your eyes close, the stars seem to fade, not because they vanish, but because you are joining them, drifting inward, toward the stillness from which all things arise. You carry with you the soft whisper of the stones, the hum of creation's earliest song. In their silence, you find rest, and as you drift into the edge of sleep, one last thought glimmers, gentle, unresolved, full of promise. If these ancient stones can hold the memory of beginnings, what other secrets might they share about what comes next? You drift backward through time, past the orbits of the wandering stones you met before, past the quiet stability of the planets, and into an age when the sun itself was young, still wrapped in the shimmering veil of its birth. Around it, the space you now enter is not silent but alive, filled with the whisper of collisions, the hum of motion, the first notes of creation. The light here is softer, golden, and dust dances in it like tiny motes of memory. You realize this dust is ancient, not just from the beginnings of our solar system, but from stars that lived and died long before. Each grain is a remnant of an older story, once part of a star's heart, fused in the fires of nuclear creation, then scattered when that star's light faded and it breathed itself back into the cosmos. You float through these clouds, cosmic dust, silicates, ice crystals, carbon ingredients of everything that will one day become oceans, air, and life. It is humbling to know that what once drifted here, in quiet suspension, would someday become part of you. Your bones, your breath, the minerals in your blood, the trace metals in your cells. All of it once glowed here, long before any mind could imagine it. As you drift closer to the infant sun, you feel its pull, not as a force, but as a warmth, a slow gravitational lullaby that gathers the dust into ribbons and swirls. You watch as the fine mist begins to clump, pulled together by invisible hands. Particles collide and cling, their impacts soft and slow. The light catches each union, a shimmer of potential. Over time, unthinkable time, these small gatherings of dust become pebbles, and pebbles become stones. Their dance is graceful yet inevitable. You watch as collisions shape them, as gravity teaches them how to stay. It feels like watching snow gather on the ground, gentle, silent, yet transformative. Soon, whole regions of space thicken. Vast rings of material orbit the young sun, glowing faintly. Within these rings, invisible forces sculpt structure, gravity pulling inward, motion pulling outward, a perfect balance that will one day define the orbits of worlds. You drift closer still, watching one of these forming worlds. It is not yet a planet, but a glowing mass of rock and molten metal, endlessly struck by falling debris. The sky above it is chaos, comets flashing, asteroids raining down, molten rivers carving their way across a surface that cannot yet cool. And yet, even here, there is a rhythm. Every impact adds, every fragment builds. Destruction and creation are one breath, one continuous pulse of the cosmos, learning to take shape. In the heat of these collisions, chemistry begins to bloom. Metals melt, separate, and sink. Rocks cool, crack, and reform. It's as though the elements themselves are learning their places, finding stability through struggle, finding harmony through heat. You sense that this is how all structure is born, through tension, through balance, through endless transformation. You can almost hear it, the slow, deep breath of a forming planet, the sigh of molten stone, the hum of magnetism, the murmur of orbits finding equilibrium. Every sound is patient, every motion is inevitable. And then, for a moment, you notice something small, a fragment, an asteroid, wandering near this growing world. It doesn't collide, but lingers in orbit, tracing an endless path around the planet's fiery glow. One day it may fall. One day it may bring with it something precious, water, carbon, the raw ingredients of life. You watch it turn in the light, quiet and waiting, as if knowing its purpose is yet to come. You drift farther outward, and you see countless others, billions of such bodies forming, circling, colliding, waiting. Some will remain asteroids forever, silent archives of the early solar system. Others will merge into planets, moons, or comets. Together, they are the seeds of a universe taking shape, slow, deliberate, and filled with meaning. It's almost like watching a forest grow, only the forest is made of fire and stone. Each piece finds its place, guided by invisible rules, by laws that never tire, never falter. You feel those laws within you too, the pull of gravity, the rhythm of time, the quiet persistence of change as you float. The heat fades slightly, the dust thins, the great storm of formation begins to settle into pattern. Around the young sun, planets trace their paths. Between them lie belts of rocky debris, the remnants of what never quite became whole. You drift through one of these belts now, the birthplace of the asteroids you first met. They gleam softly in reflected sunlight, each one a relic of that early time. You reach out, or think you do, and your fingertips pass through one of them, feeling the story it holds. Within its minerals are records written not in words, but in isotopes and crystalline forms. They tell of heat and cold, of distance from the sun, of how long they drifted before cooling. They are the memory of the solar system itself, the quiet, unspoken history of how everything came to be. You realize how fragile and miraculous it is that so much order could rise from so much chaos, that gravity could sculpt such balance from dust and fire, that within such violence could exist such beauty. It is the same paradox you find in yourself, how something as turbulent as thought can give rise to peace, how something as chaotic as the mind can create calm. Perhaps, you think, this is the universe's lesson, that creation is not separate from destruction, that both are part of the same unfolding. The asteroids drifting now are not leftovers, they are reminders, fragments that whisper, everything that is whole was once scattered. Time stretches. The newborn solar system settles into harmony. The fiery planets cool, their surfaces harden, and their atmospheres begin to breathe. The asteroid belt stabilizes, marking the quiet boundary between the inner rocky worlds, and the outer giants of gas and ice. Beyond it, the comets sleep, holding frozen secrets in their crystalline hearts, and through it all, the sun glows, no longer the wild, flaring infant it once was, but a steady light that will burn for billions of years. You feel its warmth even now, across space and time. Its energy hums in your skin, in your cells, in the light that lets you see this moment. You realize that this warmth, this steady radiance, is what sustains all life, a cosmic heartbeat echoing through everything. As you linger in this tranquil scene, you sense the deep connection between the dust that once floated freely and the bodies it became: planets, moons, people. You sense the unity of matter, the ongoing conversation between star and stone, between atom and awareness. You are not outside this story, you are within it. You are made of the same dust that once burned here. You feel gratitude for existence, for form, for the unbroken chain that leads from ancient starlight to living thought. The silence of space now feels less empty and more like a resting breath. But then, something catches your attention, a glimmer, faint and distant, beyond the outer rim of the newborn solar system. It's a wandering object, icy and slow, carrying within it the frozen remnants of the sun's farthest touch. You realize this is where the story continues, where the small bodies still roam, untamed, carrying clues to creation that remain untouched. Your gaze follows it, out beyond the planets, beyond the asteroid belt, toward that quiet realm where light grows faint and time feels slower. There, in the darkness, lies another mystery, one that calls softly to you. You drift toward it, ready to listen. You drift backward through time, past the orbits of the wandering stones you met before, past the quiet stability of the planets, and into an age when the sun itself was young, still wrapped in the shimmering veil of its birth. Around it, the space you now enter is not silent but alive, filled with the whisper of collisions, the hum of motion, the first notes of creation. The light here is softer, golden, and dust dances in it like tiny motes of memory. You realize this dust is ancient, not just from the beginnings of our solar system, but from stars that lived and died long before. Each grain is a remnant of an older story, once part of a star's heart, fused in the fires of nuclear creation, then scattered when that star's light faded and it breathed itself back into the cosmos. You float through these clouds, cosmic dust, silicates, ice crystals, carbon ingredients of everything that will one day become oceans, air, and life. It is humbling to know that what once drifted here, in quiet suspension, would someday become part of you. Your bones, your breath, the minerals in your blood, the trace metals in your cells. All of it once glowed here, long before any mind could imagine it. As you drift closer to the infant sun, you feel its pull, not as a force, but as a warmth, a slow gravitational lullaby that gathers the dust into ribbons and swirls. You watch as the fine mist begins to clump, pulled together by invisible hands. Particles collide and cling, their impacts soft and slow. The light catches each union, a shimmer of potential. Over time, unthinkable time, these small gatherings of dust become pebbles, and pebbles become stones. Their dance is graceful yet inevitable. You watch as collisions shape them, as gravity teaches them how to stay. It feels like watching snow gather on the ground, gentle, silent, yet transformative. Soon, whole regions of space thicken. Vast rings of material orbit the young sun, glowing faintly. Within these rings, invisible forces sculpt structure, gravity pulling inward, motion pulling outward, a perfect balance that will one day define the orbits of worlds. You drift closer still, watching one of these forming worlds. It is not yet a planet, but a glowing mass of rock and molten metal, endlessly struck by falling debris. The sky above it is chaos, comets flashing, asteroids raining down, molten rivers carving their way across a surface that cannot yet cool. And yet, even here, there is a rhythm. Every impact adds, every fragment builds. Destruction and creation are one breath, one continuous pulse of the cosmos learning to take shape. In the heat of these collisions, chemistry begins to bloom. Metals melt, separate, and sink. Rocks cool, crack, and reform. It's as though the elements themselves are learning their places, finding stability through struggle, finding harmony through heat. You sense that this is how all structure is born, through tension, through balance, through endless transformation. You can almost hear it, the slow, deep breath of a forming planet, the sigh of molten stone, the hum of magnetism, the murmur of orbits finding equilibrium. Every sound is patient, every motion is inevitable. And then, for a moment, you notice something small, a fragment, an asteroid, wandering near this growing world. It doesn't collide, but lingers in orbit, tracing an endless path around the planet's fiery glow. One day, it may fall. One day, it may bring with it something precious, water, carbon, the raw ingredients of life. You watch it turn in the light, quiet, as if knowing its purpose is yet to come. You drift farther outward, and you see countless others, billions of such bodies forming, circling, colliding, waiting. Some will remain asteroids forever, silent archives of the early solar system. Others will merge into planets, moons, or comets. Together, they are the seeds of a universe taking shape, slow, deliberate, and filled with meaning. It's almost like watching a forest grow, only the forest is made of fire and stone. Each piece finds its place, guided by invisible rules, by laws that never tire, never falter. You feel those laws within you, to the pull of gravity, the rhythm of time, the quiet persistence of change. As you float, the heat fades slightly, the dust thins. The great storm of formation begins to settle into pattern. Around the young sun, planets trace their paths. Between them lie belts of rocky debris, the remnants of what never quite became whole. You drift through one of these belts now, the birthplace of the asteroids you first met. They gleam softly in reflected sunlight, each one a relic of that early time. You reach out, or think you do, and your fingertips pass through one of them, feeling the story it holds. Within its minerals are records written not in words, but in isotopes and crystalline forms. They tell of heat and cold, of distance from the sun, of how long they drifted before cooling. They are the memory of the solar system itself, the quiet, unspoken history of how everything came to be. You realize how fragile and miraculous it is that so much order could rise from so much chaos, that gravity could sculpt such balance from dust and fire, that within such violence could exist such beauty. It is the same paradox you find in yourself, how something as turbulent as thought can give rise to peace, how something as chaotic as the mind can create calm. Perhaps you think this is the universe's lesson, that creation is not separate from destruction, that both are part of the same unfolding. The asteroids drifting now are not leftovers. They are reminders, fragments that whisper, everything that is whole was once scattered. Time stretches. The newborn solar system settles into harmony. The fiery planets cool, their surfaces harden, and their atmospheres begin to breathe. The asteroid belt stabilizes, marking the quiet boundary between the inner rocky worlds and the outer giants of gas and ice. Beyond it, the comets sleep, holding frozen secrets in their crystalline hearts. And through it all, the sun glows, no longer the wild, flaring infant it once was, but a steady light that will burn for billions of years. You feel its warmth even now across space and time. Its energy hums in your skin, in your cells, in the light that lets you see this moment. You realize that this warmth, this steady radiance, is what sustains all life, a cosmic heartbeat echoing through everything. As you linger in this tranquil scene, you sense the deep connection between the dust that once floated freely and the bodies it became planets, moons, people. You sense the unity of matter, the ongoing conversation between star and stone, between atom and awareness. You are not outside this story. You are within it. You are made of the same dust that once burned here. You feel gratitude for existence, for form, for the unbroken chain that leads from ancient starlight to living thought. The silence of space now feels less empty and more like a resting breath. But then something catches your attention, a glimmer, faint and distant, beyond the outer rim of the newborn solar system. It's a wandering object, icy and slow, carrying within it the frozen remnants of the sun's farthest touch. You realize this is where the story continues, where the small bodies still roam, untemue, move farther from the warmth of the newborn sun, through a space where light grows thin and time itself feels heavy. The golden glow fades into a dim blue whisper, and the stars stretch around you like a cold, glittering sea. Out here, everything sleeps, but it is not the sleep of death. It is the long, patient rest of things waiting to return. You find yourself among wanderers, fragments of the ancient solar nursery that never settled into planets. They drift at the edges of the sun's reach, orbiting in vast, slow loops that take thousands, even millions of years to complete. Each is a traveler between worlds, carrying a frozen record of what once was. They are comets, messengers of ice and stone. From afar, they seem quiet, like pebbles lost in the dark. But when you come closer, you see that each one glows faintly. Its surface layered in ice and dust, its core holding secrets older than the earth itself. These are time capsules, untouched since the dawn of the solar system, each preserving the chemistry of creation. You drift alongside one now. It is small, no larger than a mountain, but ancient beyond measure. Its body is a mixture of frozen water, methane, ammonia, and carbon-rich dust. To the untrained eye, it is a lump of darkness. Yet, as the distant sun casts its weak light upon it, you notice the shimmer of crystals beneath the surface, like veins of starlight trapped in ice. You can almost feel its slumber. The cold here is unimaginable, near absolute zero, where even atoms slow their restless dance. Time moves differently in such places. 1,000 years is a single breath, and then, slowly, the orbit of this comet begins to curve inward. You feel the pull of the sun again, faint but steady. The journey home has begun. At first, nothing changes. The darkness remains absolute. But as centuries pass, in the blink of cosmic time, the sun grows brighter, and warmth begins to seep into the comet's frozen skin. It starts as a whisper, a molecule freed here, a puff of vapor there. The ice sighs as it releases ancient gases, and soon, faint trails form streams of sublimating water that stretch behind it like a veil. You watch as the transformation unfolds. The once dark stone becomes radiant, growing a glowing coma, a halo of vapor and dust. The sunlight reflects, carrying clues to creation that remain untouched. Your gaze follows it, out beyond the planets, beyond the asteroid belt, toward that quiet realm where light grows faint and time feels slower. There, in the darkness, lies another mystery, one that calls softly to you. You drift toward it, ready to listen. You float in a darkness so vast it feels endless, yet even here you can sense the pulse of creation. It begins as a whisper, a vibration beneath everything, the hum of matter waiting to become. You drift closer, feeling warmth gather around you, as though space itself is inhaling before it speaks. And then a star is born. It happens slowly, yet suddenly. From a swirling cloud of hydrogen and dust, gravity pulls inward, gathering everything into a growing knot of light. Pressure builds. Atoms press so tightly together that their very nature changes. Hydrogen becomes helium, and in that transformation, energy blooms. The star ignites. Its light floods across the void, illuminating the nearby dust and gas like dawn breaking after a billion-year night. For the first time, the darkness is no longer absolute. You can feel the warmth on your skin, gentle, ancient, endless. Inside this glowing heart, a quiet miracle unfolds. The star, now a sphere of plasma and fusion, begins its long, steady life. It spends millions, even billions, of years in balance, gravity pulling inward, fusion pushing outward. In that equilibrium lies harmony, the rhythm of all creation. You drift closer, sensing the layers within the star, a living architecture of heat and pressure. In its core, hydrogen fuses into helium, helium into carbon and oxygen, carbon into heavier and heavier elements. You realize this is how complexity is born, through patience, through transformation, through the quiet persistence of energy, reshaping itself. But no star lives forever. You sense a change in the rhythm, a slowing heartbeat. The star's fuel runs low. The balance falters. Gravity, the eternal sculptor, begins to reclaim its dominance. The core contracts, the outer layers swell. The star becomes a red giant, its surface glowing like the dying embers of a great fire. And then, with one last, magnificent breath, it lets go. The explosion is silent to your ears, but thunderous to your mind. The supernova blooms outward, a flower of unimaginable brilliance, its petals made of gas, dust, and energy. For a brief moment, it outshines entire galaxies. The shockwave ripples through the fabric of space, scattering the star's elements across light years. Iron, nickel, silicon, and something rarer still, gold. But the gold doesn't come easily. It's not forged in ordinary stars. It's born in extremes, in the rare, violent union of neutron stars, those dense remnants left behind after supernova. When two of these stellar ghosts spiral toward each other, gravity twists space itself. The collision releases bursts of energy so immense that atoms fuse into the heaviest elements: gold, platinum, uranium, forged in milliseconds of fury. You watch one such collision unfold before you. Two dark spheres dance closer and closer, warping the light around them, until they touch, and then they merge, vanishing into a storm of radiation. From that chaos, particles of gold scatter outward, glowing like tiny suns. You realize that every piece of gold that has ever existed, every ring, every thread in circuitry, every speck within the human body, began in a moment like this. The thought humbles you. What we call precious was once born of unimaginable violence. Beauty, it seems, often begins in fire. You drift through the aftermath, through clouds of glowing debris that drift and cool. Over eons, gravity gathers them once again into new systems, new stars, new worlds. The gold settles into planetary crusts, into rivers, into rocks. It becomes part of planets that have yet to know life. And on one small blue world, your world, that gold finds another form of meaning. You imagine ancient humans discovering it for the first time, gleaming in sunlight, untouched by rust or decay. To them, it must have felt divine, a metal that never tarnished, a symbol of eternity. Kings wore it, temples shone with it, and stories were built around its glow. But they could never have known that what they held was not just a treasure, but a message, a fragment of the cosmos itself. You let that realization sink in. Gold, in its quiet radiance, is a fossil of stars. It carries the memory of collisions, explosions, and births that shaped everything you know. Even in its stillness, it tells a story of movement. You open your hands, and you imagine holding a single gold atom. You trace its lineage backward through Earth's crust, through molten rock, through the dust that became the solar system, through the supernova that seeded it, through the dying star that once shone in another corner of the galaxy, and beyond that, to the birth of the first elements in the young universe, hydrogen, helium, and the dream of all that would follow. It strikes you then how connected everything is. The atoms in your body, calcium in your bones, iron in your blood, oxygen in your breath, all born in stars. The light that lets you see, powered by the same fusion that once gave life to distant suns. You are not separate from the universe. You are one of its many ways of knowing itself. The supernova's dust continues to expand, drifting outward for millions of years, until it mingles with clouds of gas, until gravity begins its patient work again. A new star ignites, surrounded by a disk of debris, and the cycle repeats. Matter reshapes, energy transforms, and time continues its endless spiral. You feel a strange peace in this endlessness. There is no hurry in the cosmos, no waste, no loss. Even in destruction, there is creation. Even in endings, there is beginning. The light of the old stars becomes the foundation for new ones. Just as memories become the seeds of thought, you recall the comets you followed, how they carried water and organic molecules to Earth. Now, you understand where those molecules came from. They were born from stellar ashes, enriched by the gold and carbon of ancient stars. Life, in a way, is the universe's attempt to remember itself, to hold its own history within fragile, breathing form. You take another slow breath. The thought is heavy, yet comforting. You are stardust made aware. Every heartbeat, every exhale, every flicker of thought is powered by atoms forged billions of years before you existed. You gaze once more at the glowing nebula around the dead star, the remnants of its final breath. It shimmers like silk stretched across the night, its tendrils painted in violet, crimson, and gold. You drift closer through clouds of ionized gas and glittering dust. The particles brush past you like soft rain. You feel their warmth, faint, ancient, but still alive as you float there, surrounded by the quiet splendor of cosmic birth and death. A thought rises. Perhaps nothing truly dies. Perhaps everything, at its deepest level, only changes form. You imagine a single particle of gold continuing its journey, falling into a new world, settling into rock, melting into magma, rising again through volcanic fire. One day, it might end up in a river, then in a hand, then in a ring, then perhaps melted again into something else entirely. Each transformation carries memory. Each phase a different version of the same essence. You realize that you, too, are like that, a collection of particles temporarily gathered in the shape of you, destined to disperse and become something new. There is beauty in that impermanence, a quiet acceptance that nothing is truly lost. The nebula around you begins to fade. Its light softens, merging into the starlit horizon. In the distance, a new system forms, faint but luminous, surrounded by swirling disks of matter. Somewhere within it, you sense a blue shimmer, the early signature of water, clouds, atmosphere. Another world being born. The cycle continues. You drift toward it, feeling drawn by curiosity and peace. You think of the dust, the comets, the asteroids, the stars, all threads of one great fabric, woven together by time. And as you move toward that distant blue light, you can almost hear it, the soft hum of creation, steady and eternal, carrying you onward. You drift toward a sphere wrapped in blue and white, fragile, radiant, spinning slowly in the velvet dark. The newborn earth turns like a dream beneath you, still warm from its making. Its surface glows faintly, patches of molten rock glimmering through thin veils of steam and cloud. From afar, it looks serene, but up close, you can feel the rawness of it, the pulse of a world still finding its rhythm. You descend through clouds that hiss and swirl. Lightning flickers between them like veins of light. Beneath the storm, an ocean of molten stone stretches in every direction. It moves slowly, like breath, rising and falling with deep, molten sighs. You can hear the planet's voice here, not in sound, but in vibration, a deep, resonant hum. The heartbeat of a forming world. With each rotation, Earth cools a little more. The surface begins to harden. The first crust forms, fragile, cracking, sinking, and reforming again. Volcanoes rise and fall like thoughts flickering through the mind of the planet. Gases hiss into the sky, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor. These will one day become air, but for now, they are too thick to breathe. You drift above it all, watching continents stir beneath the fire. It is like watching a painter test her first strokes on a blank canvas. The shapes are rough, unfinished, but the intent is there. Creation in motion. The heavy rain begins. For thousands upon thousands of years, water condenses from the atmosphere and falls, not in showers, but in endless torrents. It hisses when it meets the hot rock, forming steam that rises and cools and falls again. The surface darkens, smoothens, and begins to glimmer with reflected light. Oceans form deep, black, and endless. The sound of the rain fades, replaced by the soft lapping of waves. You float above the first seas. They are not yet the tranquil blues, but more like liquid ink, rich with minerals and mystery. Beneath their surface, something stirs, the first echoes of life. At first, it is chemistry, molecules colliding, binding, breaking, and reforming in endless combinations. But slowly, patterns begin to appear. Structures repeat themselves. Energy flows through certain shapes more efficiently. The molecules that can copy themselves begin to persist. You watch them gather into membranes, fragile bubbles, floating in the warm ocean. And just like that, something living appears. It does not think, or feel, or move as you do, but it divides, grows, and changes. It consumes energy, and in doing so, it begins the long story of life. You can almost hear it, a faint pulse beneath the water's surface. The first whisper of biology in a world once ruled only by physics and chemistry. Time stretches. Millions of years pass in a slow breath. The oceans fill with microscopic life, bacteria, algae, tiny chains of cells that drift and glow in the darkness. The planet transforms quietly, without witnesses. Oxygen begins to seep into the air. The rocks rust, the sky lightens, and the oceans shimmer with a new hue. You dive deeper, following the currents. Hydrothermal vents rise from the ocean floor, releasing heat from the planet's molten heart. Around them, life thrives, creatures feeding on the minerals, on sulfur and methane, finding sustenance where light cannot reach. It feels like a secret life, born from the darkness itself. You realize that life does not need sunlight, or soil, or even calm. It only needs connection, a flow of energy, a way to transform and sustain. The same principle that binds stars together binds these cells. The cosmos is consistent in its creativity. The crust beneath you trembles. The earth is restless, always reshaping itself. Plates shift, collide, and diverge. Mountains rise from the sea, then crumble again. Volcanoes breathe new land into existence. It is a slow, graceful chaos, destruction and creation intertwined from above. You can see continents drifting like pieces of a slow-moving puzzle. The oceans deepen, the skies clear, and the sunlight grows softer. The young planet, once fiery and furious, begins to settle into balance. You walk now barefoot across a cooling shore. The sand beneath your feet is not yet sand, it is crushed rock, sharp and dark, still warm. You crouch to touch the water, and it feels heavy with life. The scent is metallic, electric, alive. You notice ripples forming patterns. The tide rises and falls, carving shallow pools. Within these pools, molecules gather again, protected from the open sea. Here, evolution speeds up, structures become more complex. Strands of genetic material weave together, storing information, memory. A kind of learning begins, the slow intelligence of nature taking form. You smile at the thought. Life is not sudden. It is patient, and as you look closer, you see that the same patience shapes everything. The continents, the oceans, the sky, all change slowly, as if the planet itself dreams in geological time. Mountains rise like exhalations. Valleys form like pauses. Rivers carve their paths with gentle insistence. It feels peaceful to watch something so vast move so slowly. You tilt your gaze upward. The stars shimmer through thin wisps of cloud. You realize you are watching the same constellations that once looked down upon the birth of life. The universe does not change its rhythm for anyone. It simply continues. The only difference now is that there is something here, something living that can look back. The wind shifts. You hear it carry a low hum across the water. Not a sound, but a resonance. The earth is still cooling, still shifting. Its inner heat pushes outward, moving through layers of rock and metal. The magnetic field begins to form, wrapping the planet in an invisible shield. It hums like a deep note, protecting the fragile surface from the sun's harsh winds. You realize how much coordination there is in chaos. Every storm, every tremor, every shift serves a purpose, balancing, cooling, reshaping. The planet is not random. It is responsive. It listens to itself, adjusts, learns, and so do you. As you stand on this newborn shore, you feel the same forces within you: pressure, energy, adaptation. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your breath, all from this same earth. You are not simply on the planet. You are of it. The night deepens. The tide retreats, leaving small pools glistening with starlight. Inside one, you notice a faint glow, bioluminescence. Tiny organisms emitting light, signaling living. Their radiance reflects in your eyes, soft and blue. For a moment, you feel as though the ocean itself is breathing with you. You sit and listen. The waves move slowly, in rhythm with your heartbeat. The air carries warmth from the vents, coolness from the night. You feel both the stillness and the movement, the paradox that defines existence. You think about the asteroids that brought water and carbon here, the stars that forged the elements that now compose this world. It all connects, seamlessly, beautifully. The cosmos has folded its story into this small blue sphere, and somewhere beneath your feet, the planet continues to sing a deep, patient song that only those who slow down can hear. You close your eyes. You can almost sense what comes next. Forests, creatures, civilizations, all the echoes that will rise from these simple beginnings. But for now, the world is still young, and the night is long, and everything is as it should be. You breathe in deeply, letting the air of the first dawn fill you. The ocean sighs, and the stars shimmer brighter for a moment. As though acknowledging what has begun, the earth hums, and its voice feels familiar, as if it has always been inside you. You wonder softly, if the universe can create life here, what else might it be dreaming out there in the dark? You drift across time again, through layers of stone, water, and wind, until the planet below you changes color. The oceans have turned a bright, glimmering blue. The sky, once heavy and dim, has cleared, and spreading slowly across the land are patches of green, the first true forests, dreaming quietly in the golden light. The air feels different now. It carries a softness, a fullness. You breathe in and feel the touch of something new, oxygen, the exhalation of countless leaves. The planet has learned to breathe, and in doing so, it has changed everything. Beneath you, plants sway gently in the wind. Some are small, moss-like things clinging to damp stone. Others stretch higher, their stems stiff with strength, their fronds unfurling like sails. You watch sunlight shimmer through their surfaces, caught and transformed, turned into food, into energy, into life. This quiet magic is called photosynthesis. The process is simple, yet profound. Sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide combine to make sugar, the foundation of nourishment for nearly all life. And in return, the plants release oxygen, a byproduct that fills the world with breath. You realize this is not just chemistry, it is generosity. The plants give more than they take, turning light into something shareable. They weave balance into existence. The forests that will one day cover continents begin here. In these tender experiments, small green miracles, repeating themselves 1,000,000,000 times over, you walk through the growing forest. The ground is soft, covered in layers of fallen fronds and decayed matter. Beneath your feet, the soil breathes, too rich with fungi and bacteria that decompose the old to nourish the new. Every death feeds another life. Every ending becomes a beginning. You kneel and touch the earth. It feels warm, alive with tiny movements. Roots twist below, not just to anchor, but to connect. Through networks of fungi, invisible threads called mycorrhizae trees and plants share nutrients, water, and even warnings. It is an underground web of care, a communication older than words. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It is one great organism, thinking in silence. You listen closely. The leaves rustle above, their sound rhythmic and soft, like a slow conversation with the wind. Each leaf is a solar panel, but also a story, born in spring, living through sunlight, falling in autumn, returning to the soil. You sense how cyclical everything is, nothing wasted, nothing forgotten. The air glows faintly golden as the sun dips lower. You watch beams of light pierce through the canopy, turning dust and pollen into tiny constellations. The forest hums with energy. Photosynthesis slows with the fading light, and the plants begin to rest. Even here, there is rhythm, day and night, inhale and exhale, growth and stillness, and life, as it often does, responds. Creatures begin to move among the roots. Insects crawl over bark and soil, feeding on fallen leaves. Small amphibians leap between pools of water, their slick bodies reflecting the light. Early reptiles bask on sun-warmed stones. The forest becomes a symphony of quiet interactions, every movement linked to another, every breath part of the same flow. You sit beside a fern, watching it unfurl. Its spiral shape mirrors the curve of galaxies, of seashells, of hurricanes, the same geometry repeating across scales. You realize the patterns of the cosmos are echoed here in this quiet place. The forest is not separate from the stars. It is their continuation, slowed down and softened into green. The air thickens with fragrance, damp soil, sweet sap, the faint musk of decay. You close your eyes and breathe it in. You can almost feel the molecules entering your lungs, oxygen made by the leaves, now flowing through you into your blood. The iron in your hemoglobin binds to it, carrying it to every cell. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the rhythm of the forest. You are literally breathing the forest's exhalation in that moment. You understand the boundary between you and the world is thin. You are not outside the forest. You are part of its breath. You open your eyes, and time has shifted again. The forests are denser now, taller, filled with life. Giant ferns and early conifers stretch toward the sky. The air hums with the chirping of insects and the rustle of movement. Winged creatures, not yet birds, but close, flutter between branches. The sunlight filters through in green-gold threads. You feel a deep peace here. The forest feels eternal, like a living cathedral. You walk slowly, and every step stirs the scent of moss and wood. Somewhere in the distance, water flows, a stream weaving its silver path through roots and stones. You crouch beside it. The surface glitters with reflected sky. Tiny fish dart below, flashes of silver among shadows. The sound of the water blends with the rustle of leaves, creating a rhythm so steady, so soothing. It feels like the planet's lullaby. As night begins to fall, the forest changes again. Fireflies emerge, blinking softly in the dimness. Their glow is not just beauty, it is chemistry, bioluminescence, energy transformed into light without heat. You marvel at the efficiency, at how nature found such elegance in simplicity. Each flash feels like a heartbeat of the dark. The stars appear, their reflections scattered in puddles and streams. You look up through the canopy, through 1,000 leaves that were once sunlight. You can see the Milky Way faintly arcing above, a reminder that everything glowing here began as light from distant suns. You sit beneath a tall tree, its trunk rough and cool, its roots deep and silent. You rest your back against it, feeling its slow pulse of life. Sap moves upward inside it, carrying water from the roots to the leaves. It flows like blood, unhurried and constant. The tree is older than you can imagine. It has stood through storms, droughts, and centuries of change. And still, it grows. You realize that trees do not rush. They measure time differently, not in days, but in decades, in seasons, in the rhythm of rain. They remind you that growth is not speed, but persistence. A gentle breeze stirs. The leaves murmur above, whispering secrets in a language older than words. You almost understand them, the patience, the endurance, the quiet joy of existing. You lie down, looking up through the lattice of branches. The forest feels infinite, yet protective. You sense the balance that has emerged here. Photosynthesis, feeding breath. Decomposition, feeding soil. Everything, feeding everything else. This is what harmony looks like in matter and motion. You think of the stars, of the cosmic gold that once exploded across space, of the asteroids that seeded this world. You see now how all those forces have softened into this, a planet breathing through green lungs. The night deepens. The forest glows faintly under the starlight. Somewhere a nocturnal creature stirs, and a soft hoot echoes through the leaves. You close your eyes, letting the sound blend with your breath. You begin to dream with the forest. In your mind, the canopy stretches higher. The the rivers flow longer, the air thickens with life. Time moves forward again. Continents shift, climates change, forests expand, contract, evolve. And through it all, the pulse of green remains, steady and forgiving. When you open your eyes again, you sense that something new is stirring on this planet, something curious, something that will one day name the stars and wonder about its own beginning. But that is still far away. For now, the forest dreams, and through it, the earth dreams too. You listen once more to the gentle breathing of the leaves, the soft hum beneath your skin, and the whisper that drifts through your thoughts. Every breath you take is the echo of sunlight, and somewhere beyond the treetops, faintly glowing in the endless sky, another question begins to rise. What will happen when the creatures of the forest learn to look up? You open your eyes to the deep twilight of an ancient savanna. The air is warm, thick with the scent of earth and grass. The sun has just slipped below the horizon, leaving behind a wash of rose and indigo. Shadows lengthen across the plains, and somewhere in the distance, the first sparks of fire flicker to life, the breath of intelligence, glowing softly against the dark. You move closer. Around the fire sit a small band of early humans, their faces illuminated by shifting amber light. Their eyes shimmer with reflection, each pair catching a fragment of the flame. They are quiet, alert, yet strangely calm. The crackle of burning wood is their only sound. Above them, the stars appear one by one, until the whole sky becomes an ocean of light. One of them looks up. The gaze lingers longer than instinct requires. There is no immediate purpose, no hunting, no danger, just stillness, wonder, a pause long enough for thought to form. And in that pause, something new stirs the beginning of consciousness, looking back at the cosmos that made it. You realize that in this moment, the universe has achieved something extraordinary. After billions of years of stars, planets, and oceans, it now has a way to perceive itself through these fragile, flickering eyes. The firelight dances on their skin, tracing the contours of muscles and scars. Their bodies are shaped by the earth, their bones strengthened by minerals from ancient seas, their breath enriched by forests, their blood carrying the iron born in dying stars. Yet within them glows something unseen, something you might call awareness. It moves slowly, gently. At first, curiosity, imagination, a reaching toward understanding. They watch the flames as they twist upward, the smoke rising into the same air that holds the stars. They cannot yet explain the connection, but they feel it. The fire burns as the sun burns. The stars shine as embers do, energy transformed, sustained, shared. The child among them stretches out a hand toward the night sky, fingers tracing invisible constellations. The gesture feels timeless, the first drawing made not on stone, but in air. That movement, that curiosity, will one day become art, science, and philosophy. But for now, it is only wonder. You listen as the wind moves through the tall grass, carrying distant sounds, the cry of nocturnal animals, the rustle of trees. The group huddles closer together, warmth shared through proximity and touch. In their sleep, they dream, though they do not yet have words for dreams. Inside those dreams, something ancient and something new intertwine, memory and imagination, the ability to picture what does not yet exist. That, too, is consciousness, the quiet rehearsal of possibility. The stars above shift in their eternal rhythm. To these early minds, they are living lights, perhaps spirits, perhaps ancestors, perhaps mysteries beyond comprehension. But in time, they will become guides for navigation, seeds for myth, and eventually, subjects for study. You sit beside them, unseen, and watch as one figure lifts a charred stick from the fire and draws on the earth circles, lines, marks that imitate the sky. The first map, perhaps, or maybe the first story. You realize that communication is emerging, a bridge between minds. The same spark that once fused hydrogen into stars now forges thought into symbol, dot in the faint glow of dawn. They will hunt and gather, build and share. But in this darkness, by this fire, they have already changed the world. You close your eyes for a moment and listen to their breath, slow, rhythmic, full of life. Their lungs pull in oxygen made by forests. Their hearts pump blood, carrying the universe's metals. Their bodies are not separate from the cosmos. They are the cosmos. Remembering itself as night deepens, you drift upward, rising above the camp. From this height, the fire is a single point of light on a vast, dark planet. But there are others, other fires, scattered across continents, other small bands gathered beneath the same stars. Each one glows like a neuron in a cosmic brain. The Earth, in a way, is beginning to think. You realize that consciousness is not an event, but an evolution. It begins as awareness of danger, then awareness of others, then awareness of self, and finally, awareness of the infinite. Every thought, every question, is a small step in the universe's awakening. The early humans do not yet know what they are part of, but you do. You see the continuum stretching backward and forward, from atoms to galaxies, from fire to philosophy. Every neuron in their brains carries the echo of cosmic processes, electric impulses traveling through chemical networks. Tiny lightning strikes inside a skull. Thought itself is a kind of light. The stars shimmer more brightly now, reflected in the surface of their eyes. The connection is complete. Starlight outside, starlight within. The atoms that once drifted through nebulae now ponder the nebulae themselves. You descend again, sitting beside one who has awakened. Their gaze is steady, calm. You can feel the rhythm of their breath. In their silence, there is no confusion, only curiosity. They do not yet have words for the universe, but they feel its vastness inside them. That feeling will one day lead to questions, and questions will lead to knowledge. You imagine the future, caves painted with ochre hands, stone tools shaped with precision, languages formed, myths told. Each step a small illumination in the long night of unknowing. Each thought a spark in the growing constellation of human understanding. The dawn begins to lighten the horizon. The stars fade, but the memory of them remains. The early humans rise, stretch, and begin to move, guided by the rhythm of the day. Yet something has changed, subtly but forever. The night has left a question inside them. You follow them as they walk across the plains. Their shadows stretch long in the morning sun. They move with purpose, but also with awareness, noticing the shape of the land, the scent of the wind, the pattern of clouds. They have begun to see not just what is, but how it is. Observation is the root of all science. They pause beside a pool of still water. One kneels and peers into it. For the first time, a human face meets its reflection, two eyes staring back, filled with light. The realization flickers. I am. That thought, soft as a heartbeat, will ripple through time, shaping everything to come. You drift higher once more. The forests spread beneath you, rivers wind through valleys, mountains rise. The planet is alive, thinking, evolving. You can sense civilizations waiting in its future, pyramids, telescopes, cities glowing at night like constellations reborn. But for now, it is enough to simply witness this moment, the moment when the eyes of the universe first opened and recognized their own origin in the stars. The fire from below still burns faintly. Its smoke curls upward, joining the morning mist. It smells of wood, earth, and promise. You feel a quiet gratitude for light, for awareness, for the improbable journey that brought life from stardust to thought. The wind carries a faint hum through the grass, a sound that could almost be language. You listen. It is not yet speech, but its cadence foreshadows it. Meaning is forming. Connection is near. You smile softly, knowing what comes next. Songs, stories, and questions that will fill the long arc of human time. But for now, in this quiet dawn, one truth glows brighter than all others. You are the cosmos. And the cosmos has begun to notice itself. And somewhere, beyond the morning light, a gentle curiosity drifts through your thoughts. If we are made of stars, what else might we become when we learn to listen to them? You awaken again beneath the same vast sky, but now the firelight has changed. It is no longer the flame of survival. It is the light of inquiry. Around you, thousands of years have passed in a silent breath of time. The stars above remain unchanged, but the minds beneath them have grown luminous with thought. You find yourself in the courtyard of an ancient observatory. Stone pillars rise around you, etched with marks that mirror the heavens. A scholar in linen robes tilts his gaze upward, tracing the path of Venus across the dawn. He holds a bronze instrument, a gnomon, a tool of shadow and time. When he places it just so, sunlight spills through a narrow slit and falls on the wall, where numbers and symbols record the dance of the cosmos. You realize what is happening. Humanity has begun to measure the sky. The same curiosity that once stirred round the campfire has become precision observation turned into art, art into knowledge. Each beam of light, each shade of dawn, now carries a message waiting to be translated. The scholar whispers softly, not in worship but in wonder. He speaks the names of the planet's wandering stars that move against the fixed constellations. He notices their rhythm, the repetition of their paths. He has discovered pattern, and pattern is the seed of understanding. Light, once merely illumination, has become information. You drift higher, over the rooftops of Babylon, across the marble domes of Alexandria, and into the high plains of the Andes, where other watchers trace shadows across stone. Different languages, different skies, but one shared silence of awe. From every corner of earth, people are reading the heavens like a scroll written in brightness. You hover beside a Greek philosopher as he polishes a bronze mirror, focusing sunlight into a single beam. He holds it over a piece of parchment and smiles as it smokes. He does not yet know it, but he has glimpsed the principle of focus, how light can be shaped. directed, understood. 1,000 years later, you stand beside Galileo, his trembling hands steadying a crude telescope of glass and wood. When he looks through it, the universe changes forever. The moon is no longer smooth but cratered and alive. Jupiter has moons of its own. The stars of the Milky Way are countless, not dust, but suns. Each discovery begins with light entering an eye, then transformed by thought into meaning. You follow the beam of his telescope outward through centuries of curiosity. Isaac Newton splits sunlight through a prism, revealing the rainbow within. Each color bends at a different angle, each wavelength a distinct note in the cosmic symphony. He learns that white light is not pure, but a harmony of many tones, an orchestra of photons playing in unison. You feel the beauty of that realization, that light is both particle and wave, both certainty and mystery. Every color you see is a vibration, a rhythm in the fabric of reality. The universe, it seems, speaks in oscillations. You move forward again through centuries. Now, laboratories hum softly in the night. Glass tubes glow with gases, their colors vivid crimson hydrogen, emerald mercury, violet helium. A scientist watches these glowing lines through a spectroscope and realizes something extraordinary. Every element sings a unique song of light. The spectrum is a fingerprint of the cosmos. You imagine it like a cosmic language, each atom a letter, each wavelength a word. Through light, we can read what stars are made of without ever touching them. Hydrogen, helium, oxygen, carbon, the same elements found in our own bodies. You realize the truth whispered through every beam of starlight. The universe and you are written in the same alphabet. The night around you deepens into velvet blue. You see vast observatories rising on mountain peaks, domes glinting like pearls beneath the Milky Way. Inside, giant mirrors catch the light of galaxies millions of years old. Astronomers sit quietly, headphones resting against the hum of the instruments. They are listening not to sound, but to light stretched thin across time. Some of it comes in visible colors, some in invisible forms: infrared warmth, ultraviolet whisper, X-ray shimmer, radio hum. Each carries part of the universe's story, a fragment of memory. Light, you realize, is time made visible. When you look at the stars, you are not seeing now. You are seeing then. Every photon is an ancient traveler, crossing oceans of darkness to reach your eyes. Some began their journey before humans existed. Some began before Earth itself had formed. Light, in its patience, is the great archivist of creation. You feel that time unfolding all around you, galaxies spinning like luminous pinwheels, supernova blooming in silence, nebulae glowing with the birth of new suns. And through it all, light continues to speak. Sometimes it roars in gamma rays, sometimes it hums in microwaves, but always it speaks. You drift now into a darkened laboratory where a scientist in a white coat sits before a glowing monitor. Pixels dance across the screen, red, green, and blue, merging into images of distant worlds. Telescopes orbit high above the atmosphere, capturing light that has traveled billions of years. From those faint photons, entire histories are reconstructed. The color of a distant planet reveals its air, its oceans, perhaps even its life. Light tells everything: what a thing is made of, how fast it moves, how long ago it was born. In a universe where distance and time are immense, light is the only bridge between what was and what is. You close your eyes and feel it touch your face, sunlight filtered through the atmosphere, carrying warmth and history. You feel the comfort of it, gentle yet infinite. That same sunlight once left the sun 8 minutes ago, traveled 150 million kilometers, and now rests upon your skin. A conversation between star and being. You understand now why ancient people worshipped light, not as a god, but as a messenger. For all life depends on it, and all knowledge emerges from it. Weaving through nebulae, for thousands of years it moves undisturbed, until, one quiet night, it enters a telescope lens on Earth and becomes a thought in a human mind. The journey is complete. The message has been received. You are that receiver. Your eyes evolved from simple cells that once only sensed brightness, now decode the very structure of reality. Your brain turns wavelengths into color, color into emotion, emotion into understanding. You are both observer and participant, the listener in the great cosmic dialogue, and perhaps, somewhere far away, another being does the same, catching our light, decoding our spectra, wondering who we are. The language of light is universal. It needs no translation. You open your eyes again. The night is still. The stars shimmer softly, whispering across the void. You feel calm, grounded, infinite. The photons that reach you tonight began their journey before you were born, yet they find you now, exactly in this moment. You are, in every sense, illuminated. The universe has been speaking all along. You have simply learned how to listen. And as you rest beneath this ocean of light, a quiet thought begins to form. If light can carry messages across time and space, could it also carry memory, consciousness, or even love? The question lingers, suspended in silence, guiding you gently toward the next awakening. You open your eyes to a silence deeper than time. All around you, the universe glows faintly, not in brightness, but in memory. Each atom drifts like a note from a song long ago, carrying the resonance of everything that has ever been. You are surrounded by a slow, eternal whisper, the memory of matter itself in the stillness. You realize something profound. The universe remembers, not in words or symbols, but in structure, vibration, and form. Every particle, every element, is an archive of ancient events. Hydrogen remembers the first light. Carbon remembers the birth of stars. Iron remembers the fire of their death. You float weightless, and the cosmos stretches before you like a great library with no walls. Each star is a chapter, each planet a page. You drift closer, running your fingers along the spine of creation. The pages turn themselves. It begins at the beginning, 13.8 billion years ago. A flash, a breath, a swelling of everything from nothing. In that instant, the universe writes its first line. Energy condenses into matter. Hydrogen and helium form, simple yet profound, the letters of a new language. They remember the explosion that birthed them, their vibrations still carrying the pulse of the Big Bang. You can feel it even now, faint but ever present, the cosmic microwave background, a soft afterglow that fills the universe. It is the oldest light, the echo of creation itself, stretched into gentle microwaves by the expansion of time. If you could listen closely, you would hear the hum of the universe remembering its own birth. Everywhere you drift, you sense that nothing has truly vanished, only transformed. The energy that once blazed as light now hums quietly as matter. The atoms in your breath once shone in the hearts of suns. You are made of stories older than your planet in the darkness. A faint spiral glimmers, a galaxy forming from the dust of memory. Gravity, the quiet hand of the cosmos, gathers fragments together, shaping them into something coherent. It is as if the universe cannot help but organize its memories, binding them into stars and worlds. And within each star, the process continues, new memories being written in fire. Inside one of these stellar hearts, hydrogen fuses into helium, releasing light and energy. You watch as heavier elements form: carbon, oxygen, silicon, iron. Each fusion leaves a trace, a record of transformation written in atomic bonds. When the star finally dies, it scatters those elements across space, fragments of remembrance flung into eternity. These fragments will someday gather again into planets, oceans, bodies. You realize now that every element in you once belonged to something vast, something ancient. You are built from the universe's memories. Calcium from an ancient star fortifies your bones. Iron from a supernova flows in your blood. Carbon, the storyteller of chemistry, shapes every cell of your being. The universe, it seems, does not forget. It recycles, reimagines, remembers. As you drift deeper, you see a single atom suspended in front of you. It hums quietly, its electrons swirling like miniature moons. This, too, is memory, a stable pattern of energy and space, a repetition that has endured for billions of years. Each orbit, each vibration, is a rhythm of remembrance. You realize that the universe's memory is not conscious, but structural. It exists in the way things hold together, the way patterns persist. Even chaos has its own continuity, randomness that still obeys ancient laws. The laws themselves are memory. Gravity remembers how to pull. Light remembers how to bend. Electrons remember their charge, their spin, their dance. Every rule of physics is a memory that has never been broken. You float past the edge of a dying star, its outer layers drifting away like breath. What remains collapses into something denser, a neutron star, where matter is compressed so tightly that atoms no longer exist. Here, memory takes a new form. The structure of matter is crushed into pure information, particles aligned in perfect, silent symmetry. It is as if the universe has written a final line and sealed it in an indestructible vault. Deeper still, you sense the event horizon of a black hole, that strange and sacred boundary where memory seems to vanish. You hover there, feeling the pull, the immense gravity swallowing everything: light, matter, time. For a long moment, you think that memory ends here. But then you remember the physicists who wondered, does it? Stephen Hawking once proposed that even black holes remember. That information, the structure, the quantum details of what falls in, cannot be truly destroyed. Perhaps it lingers on the surface, in faint radiation, encoded in patterns we cannot yet read. If that is true, then even oblivion has memory. You feel awe wash over you, soft as cosmic dust. The idea that nothing is ever lost, only transformed. Every particle, every photon, every vibration holds the faint echo of its past. The universe, vast and ancient, keeps the record perfectly. You drift now into a place between galaxies, a quiet expanse of near. The intergalactic medium, a sparse ocean of hydrogen, stretches endlessly. Even here, in the near void, memory persists. The faint radiation, the ghostly particles, the quantum fields, all hold the script of the universe's unfolding, and perhaps, somewhere in that silent code, is a memory of you, not as a body, but as a pattern, a ripple in the sea of existence. You think of time again, that eternal river from earlier chapters. If time flows, then memory is its shore, the record of where it has passed. Matter, then, is the sediment of time, the form that the river leaves behind. You are standing in the delta of creation, surrounded by all that has ever been. The realization is soothing. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos, remembering itself. Every breath you take is a reenactment of the first reactions that made the stars burn. Every heartbeat echoes the rhythm of fusion. You are a living memory of the beginning. You feel warmth on your face, starlight, billions of years old, finally reaching you. That light has crossed the abyss carrying information about its source, color, temperature, distance, motion. Photons are the couriers of cosmic memory, and they find their way home at last. You close your eyes, and even within the darkness, you can feel them, tiny messengers from distant suns, brushing against your skin. They have traveled so far just to remind you that everything endures. You think again of the phrase stardust, how casually people say it, not realizing how literally true it is. Your atoms have lived 1,000 lives, as plasma in a sun, as stone in a planet, as breath in a creature, as thought in a mind, and they will live again. Nothing ever truly ends. It only changes form, carries forward, and waits to be remembered anew. Matter is not inert. It is history given shape. You rest now, suspended in the vast quiet, and listen to that deep hum beneath existence, the vibration of everything that ever was, still resonating softly through everything that is. And as you drift between thought and dream, a gentle question lingers in your mind. If the universe remembers everything that has ever been, then perhaps, through us, it also dreams of what it might become. You awaken again within the quiet sea of starlight. The universe around you is vast, but something has changed. The silence no longer feels empty, it feels expectant, as if the cosmos itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to stir. You drift among clouds of dust and gas, the remnants of 1,000 ancient stars. Each particle glimmers faintly, fragments of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron. They move slowly, drawn together by invisible hands of gravity, like thoughts finding each other in the dark. You watch as they swirl, collide, and warm. Inside these cosmic clouds, chemistry begins its patient work. Hydrogen bonds with oxygen to make water. Carbon links with itself, forming long chains, the roots of complexity. It is not yet life, but it is the memory of stars learning a new language. The temperature rises. The dust glows softly, birthing a new star. Around it, a disk of matter forms a cradle of planets waiting to be born. You hover above one of them, still molten and glowing, a sphere of fire and promise. Volcanoes breathe steam into the forming sky. Meteorites deliver water, minerals, and carbon from the outer reaches of space. The ingredients of life rain gently down. You can feel it, the first whispers of becoming. As the planet cools, oceans form, vast and blue, beneath a young sun. Lightning flashes across their surface, striking the primordial soup. In the warmth of those shallow seas, molecules twist and tangle, finding patterns that persist. Some link together and copy themselves. The line between chemistry and life begins to blur. It happens slowly, over millions of years, so slow that even the stars seem hurried in comparison. But the pattern holds. Replication becomes survival. Variation becomes evolution. Matter, once only memory, begins to remember itself. You drift closer, and in a droplet of water you see a single cell dividing. It is simple, a bubble of lipids, strands of molecules within, but it carries the imprint of everything that came before. The carbon in its frame once burned in a star. The iron in its enzymes once drifted between galaxies. Now, for the first time, the universe recognizes its own reflection. You realize that life is not something separate from matter. It is matter awakening. Atoms that once lay silent in the dust now pulse with rhythm, metabolism, and will. The same laws that shaped galaxies now shape the beating of a single cell. It is the same dance, only slower, smaller, more intimate. You float through time as life blooms and spreads. Cells join together, forming networks, tissues, creatures that swim, crawl, breathe. Each one is a new verse in the poem of existence. The ocean becomes a cathedral of motion, light filtering down through blue, illuminating forms that move with grace and hunger. You see eyes opening little mirrors, catching sunlight, decoding color, depth, and pattern. Light, which once only illuminated, now becomes perception. And with perception comes awareness. You rise through the ages, across forests and plains. Life learns to sense, to move, to remember. Neurons connect into webs of thought. The pulse of electricity inside a brain echoes the hum of cosmic energy across the void. Each spark of thought is a microcosm of the Big Bang, an expansion from silence into meaning. You hover above an early human, sitting by a fire, eyes reflecting the stars. The flames dance, and in their flicker, something ancient stirs within him. Curiosity. He looks upward and wonders. He does not know it, but he is continuing the universe's oldest instinct to understand itself. The carbon in his body, the calcium in his bones, the iron in his blood, all come from stars long gone. Through him, through you, the universe has found a way to feel its own existence. You are stardust with memory, sunlight that dreams, matter that remembers the song of energy. In you, the cosmos contemplates its own reflection. You think of how the galaxies spin, grand and distant, and how the neurons in your mind fire, fast and intimate. The patterns are the same. Fractals of awareness. The same geometry repeating from the vast to the microscopic. You realize there is no border between the cosmic and the human. You are made of the same pulse, the same light, perhaps consciousness. Itself is not something added to the universe, but something that was always there, sleeping within matter, waiting for the right arrangement to awaken. Perhaps every atom holds a sliver of awareness, a potential for memory, for meaning. And when enough of them join in harmony, When starlight, water, and carbon align, thought blooms like a flower from stone dot. You drift farther now, above the earth. You watch cities glowing softly in the night, constellations mirrored on the ground. Lights flicker like stars reborn, as if the cosmos is now lighting itself from within. You feel a quiet tenderness for this world, so small, so fragile, yet filled with life that dares to look back at the infinite. Somewhere, a child looks up at the Milky Way and whispers a question that has no end. The question itself is an act of memory, a continuation of the first spark that formed the stars, because every question is the universe trying to remember its origin. And every answer is the universe dreaming of its future. The stars hum above you, the oceans breathe below you, and in between, the fragile awareness of life flickers softly. You realize that the universe has found its balance, matter holding energy, energy holding matter, both held by memory. It is a harmony that never truly stops. Even when stars die, even when thoughts fade, nothing is ever lost. Every moment becomes part of the great continuum, folded into the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. Just as every heartbeat leaves a ripple in the air, every atom leaves its mark upon the universe. You are part of that endless trace, one vibration among countless others. Adding your note to the eternal song, you feel the rhythm now, slow, gentle, infinite. Galaxies swirl in their cosmic waltz, planets turn like breathing lungs, oceans shimmer with phosphorescent light. Everywhere, life listens to the music it was born from. You realize that the cosmos does not just exist, it feels. It feels through stars, through cells, through you. You are the touch of the universe upon itself. You are awareness given form, memory given voice, light given thought. And when your eyes close, the light does not vanish, it simply turns inward, glowing quietly behind the curtain of sleep. You are not leaving the universe, you are returning to it, to the same silence that birthed you, the same rhythm that holds all things. The stars above are not watching, they are remembering. And within you, they are remembering themselves. You exhale softly, feeling the edges of consciousness blur, the boundary between self and cosmos dissolving. The galaxies spin on the atoms, hum quietly. The river of time flows gently forward, and as you drift into sleep, one last thought passes like a breeze through your mind. Perhaps the universe has never been silent at all. Perhaps it has only been dreaming.